Okay, guys, here's the chapter 1 quiz overview that I promised you. I apologize. I literally have not stopped all day today, and this is the first minute I have. And I don't have my microphone, so I hope it sounds okay. I'll try to talk a little bit louder. This version of the test basically is 30 questions, and these questions will be divided in half. So you'll get half of these in period 3, and period 4 you'll get the other half. So in a random order. So it's not like I'm going to put number 1, period 3, number 2, period 4. But these are the questions. And you know what? Honestly, guys, I might throw some other questions on there, but this is just, I picked the random 30 so we can get an overview, and you guys who are waiting because I promised it will at least have an opportunity to look this over either tonight or early Friday morning. One thing, guys, I didn't mention yesterday, every quiz or test morning, I am in class. I am there for you guys. So come in and ask questions, and I will directly help you. If you come in the morning on a quiz or test day, I am there to help you. So I reward you for that, coming in on your own time and doing that in the morning. So any day, guys, that's always a standing deal with me. So if you put the effort in, I'm going to definitely help you out. So let's take a look at this. And this is the first time I've actually done it this way. Okay. So yeah. So first question. Again, I'm not going to go through every question in 10 minutes, guys. But I'll go through most of them and overview them and not give you answers per se, because this is kind of weird to, kind of show you the test itself. But just talk about key concepts. So again, with this question, by the time Europeans arrived in the Western Hemisphere, most Native Americans lived along which of the following regions? Now, again, you can look that up and find the right answer. So I'm not going to go and say, hey, D is the right answer or whatever it might be. But again, think about the Bering Land Bridge. Think about the big ideas that we have, and think about the 1490s and the civilizations that were most advanced, because advanced civilizations are going to have more population. I'll tell you that much. So which of the following describes the first peoples? Well, remember the land bridge. Remember what we talked about the variety of civilizations, and remember that a civilization is one element, but there was also a numerous amount of other elements, right? Some people were hunting and gathering, some were, doing other things, variety, but, again, we generalize, and that information for this answer is in the book, easy to find if you just do your homework on that one. So let's see, Native American societies. Again, think about the importance of elements like agriculture. Think about the importance of what agriculture does. It allows societies to be sedentary, meaning they stay in one place, and that builds civilizations. Which of the following statements describes the Maya? Well, again, we can look that one up in the book, and definitely look into how the Maya, I would say, not just the Maya, how the Maya and Inca and Aztec civilizations were, and what left them susceptible, besides disease, what left them susceptible to European conquest. Sorry, guys, I had to take a drink of my water. Which of the following statements describes Native American people east of the Mississippi River? And again, same thing with the other one. What we're looking at is regions of people and what were they doing? Which region developed roads, right? Like we talked about the Anasazi and roads and interconnected networks of trade and things of that nature. Which group developed political organizations? The Iroquois Confederacy in the Northeast, right? Regions and big ideas about those groups. Never too much specifics, because like I said, even your teacher's not the best on Native American societies in general. So it's not about memorization. Remember, it's big ideas and just a few examples that we can make sure that we have especially when we get to the writing. Which is the following describes family life among Native Americans? Same thing. Look it up, guys. Look up the the differences between Native American family life and kinship bonds and European family life, and the importance of the primogeniture and the first son and that male-dominated society, and the answers to those. Not just the answers to our quiz, but the big ideas about the differences, right? Cultural, differences led to conflict. That was a big part of the theme I talked about many times. Which of the following features characterize most native North American spiritual views? Again, look into that one. It's right there in the text as far as the rituals and the spiritual views that existed. Which of the following statements describes the status of European monarchs? Again, think about monarchs from the standpoint of how did monarchs develop, and the development of monarchy is something you guys probably know more than me because a lot of you guys studied world history last year, European history, depending on the class you're in. And so specifically, what happened? What changes happened? And the hint here is that monarchs did not always have a lot of power, right? Remember, the feudal lords had a lot of power because they had the land and the influence. Just like nowadays, $1 billion businessmen have so much influence. Look at our new president. On his influence as a businessman alone, he was able to become president. So that is the example right there. Like even in history, these guys existed and they had a ton of power. And so how did the kings get more power? They consolidated their riches. They became rich themselves. They built these they waged these massive armies. They developed game plans to we're going to be a mercantilistic country. We're going to fill our coffers with gold and silver. We're going to tax the people, and this is how essentially European monarchs centralized their power. So really look into that one. Social order in Europe around 1450 can be described as, well, pretty straightforward, guys. Social order is going to be just think about top down, and that's a huge clue there. Which of the following characteristics did traditional European, Mayan, and Aztec civilizations of the 15th century hold in common? Well, European, Mayan, and Aztec, there is a commonality about those societies, and again, a top down is a huge clue. Typically, when an English woman of the 15th century married, now this one's interesting. And I talked about this one specifically with my daughter last week when we were reviewing for her quiz, because remember, Roosevelt started a week earlier. You would think, right, that typical English women, they would give up their property. But believe it or not, in England at the time, the ownership of the property was joint. And it's going to be later in America that some of these rules change. So that was an interesting one that we looked over with my daughter on Sunday night. Which of the following is the name of the European practice wherein the eldest? That's primogeniture. Again, I don't want to just go through and give you the answers, but that one's come on. That one's pretty straightforward. Definitely know what primogeniture means beyond just a answer to a quiz question. Look into it and the social ramifications of that. The whole first son. Well, it's a big deal, guys, because the first son stayed in Europe and inherited all the property, but it was the second and third sons that had to go out and explore. And these are the guys that we need to know about. Sir Francis Drake, Sir Walter Raleigh, these guys, second sons who came out and settled in the New World. Okay, so that's definitely an important element adding to that question. Let's see, European colonization of the Americas, most Western Europeans. Well, where do most Western Europeans live? Think about, although we study the majority and the powerful, the minority and the powerful, the majority were, just like us. We're middle class. We're not the wealthy and all that stuff, but we are, the majority in a lot of places. So think about that for, European society in this time period. Merchants from which of the following countries made inroads in the Arab-dominated trade routes? We'll look back and look at look in the book where it talks about, which of these groups, Portuguese, Spain, Italy, English, which of them was the first ones to really make inroads? And not just which ones, but how and why did they make inroads? Don't forget about all the details that surround these questions. And that's why I'm okay with basically giving you some answers, guys, because I expect that you're going to go deeper. Okay, and you really need to, honestly, to have success in this class. Multiple choice questions are really for you and me to make sure that you're reading that textbook. It's super important. But go beyond just these simple answers and, earning that A on the quiz. Go into why and the what and the cause and effect. Power in Europe, Roman and medieval Catholicism contended with pre-Christian festivals and agricultural cycles. So, again, this is the pre-Christian festivals. We're talking about pagan festivals and things like that, and people that their lives were dominated by geography and other factors. So look into that. The textbook talks about that in detail in chapter 1. Why were the Crusades, which took place between 1096 and 1291, significant? Well, again, guys, it's a real simple process. Crusades open up the Muslim world, open up Europe and Asia. That opens up curiosity. That opens up trade. Traders can go to Europe. Traders can go to Asia, get spices and simple thing is pepper and salt, right? And you bring it back. You paid minuscule amounts for it in Asia, and you can charge Europeans who need that salt and that pepper and spices to flavor their food. Upcharge them. It's early business practices. They were perfecting them back then, and so that led to sparked really a whole cause and effect chain of events. Which of the following was a result of the Crusades, which took place in kind of a similar question along the same vein. Martin Luther advocated which of the following ideas. Okay, so you guys are way more versed on Martin Luther. Just review it, and you'll be fine on that one. The Ghana Empire, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. Oh man, it makes me think back to 7th grade, teaching about this salt for gold trade, and the empires that were built there, the influence of the Muslims. Don't forget about a review of Mansa Musa, and that helps us get an idea. But again, just like in Europe, guys, the majority of Africans were animists, right? It was the ruling classes that were Muslim and then later on Christian. And that, gives us a real hint, guys, into the problems that exist in Africa in the last couple, centuries, to be honest with you. And that's, something that we don't get to talk about, but it's something we talk about in another class I teach, human geography, that, there's a lot of elements to that. So that's my first, by the way, plug on human geography next year. I'm going to try to get a lot of you guys to take it. It's going to be a great class again. I'm not teaching it this year, but I want to teach it again. And you guys are 11th grade. If you have room in your schedule, it's going to be great. So anyways, I'm going to continue on. I am over by 2 minutes. I'm going to try to do this next 10 questions in 3 minutes. Which of the following factors prevented Europeans from seeking to conquer territory in Africa in the 15th century? Well, think about the factors that would prevent them. Reread the book, and this answer is pretty straightforward. Columbus, where'd they reach? Pretty straightforward question. Just reminding you to review Columbus. Same thing here, review Columbus. Spanish conquerors, right? Spanish conquest of the Aztecs in the 16th century. Which of the following factors eased the Spanish conquest? Well, God, glory, and gold, right, is their, overarching factors. But there's the big D word, and I know what you guys know what that is. A lot of you guys had to read that book. What is it? Jared Diamond, right? Guns, Germs, and Steel, something like that. Which of the following statements describes the impact of the Columbus Exchange? Well, the Columbus Exchange is, I would argue, one of the most important Key Period 1 elements that you need to know in detail. So look at the map in the book, review the section on the Columbus Exchange, watch the review videos that exist online, guys. You have to understand the Columbus Exchange. Why did the number of Indians living in Mesoamerica decline from about 30 million in the 15th century to approximately 3 million in 1650? Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Which of the following statements characterizes the legacy of the Spanish conquest in the New World in the 16th century? Legacy of the Spanish conquest, okay? Very important, right? Spanish conquest is a cause. Legacy is the effect. So towards the end of chapter 1, they talk about that one. Most of the 16th century, which of the following was the wealthiest nation in Europe? Yeah, that's easy, straightforward one. You can easily look that up, and whichever period gets that question, you're welcome. That's an easy one. How did the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro conquer the Incas in 1535? Well, again, that's a pretty straightforward tale, just like Cortez and the conquest of the Mayas. You will not get the short answer questions, guys, so I'm not going to spend too much time. I already went 4 minutes over, but I'm sure you guys will agree this is helpful. Hopefully you guys all get a chance to watch it. I apologize for posting it so late, but again, I promise you guys today was a crazy busy day. Some of you guys saw me at the football kickoff, and then I had back to school night with my kindergarten daughter. So good luck tomorrow, guys. If you get a chance, stop by the classroom in the morning. I will be there. I'll be happy to help with all these questions and give you more support. All right.